got a channel on YouTube. She shines the Fake Bake Diaries, crafting in her own sweet time. She'll show you how to make fake ice cream. It glows, giant gumdrops and cotton candy, whimsical treats she knows. Grab your scissors, get your glue. The craft is just begun with a sprinkle of imagination.
Hi, I'm Tammy, and welcome to the Fake Bake Diaries. Today, we're making this ginormous ice cream sandwich. This was so much fun to make, so come on, join me, and let's jump right in.
Crafting with a twist, Fake Bake Diary.
To start, I'm getting my chocolate chunks ready to put on the cookies. Today I'm using gloves because the paint can be messy. I found a nice chunky piece of styrofoam. It came in a package that we had. And I'm using my X-Acto knife to cut the styrofoam into nice chunky pieces. I could cut them all in squares, but I'm going to make mine a little bit more random.
Let your creativity shine in our candy land. It's whimsical and divine.
To get a nice clean cut on your styrofoam, saw down nice and slowly. If you just break through it, it will come out looking like this. So that's just trying to push through it, and that's sawing, going back and forth, nice and slowly all the way down. And also make sure that you have a nice sharp blade to cut the styrofoam. All of these chocolate chunks are not for one cookie, they are for 2 cookies. I'm separating them into 2. So there's 8 chocolate chunks for each. This is the box that I use to dry anything that needs to dry standing up or needs to dry all the way around. It's just a cardboard box. Inside I put some styrofoam. I've used this same box for the past 1.5 years, and it's great for drying. And these are skewers from the dollar store that I use to hold everything up. And that's how I'll be drying these. To paint these, I'll be using my chocolate caulking sauce. And I've also added some gloss Mod Podge in here to make my chocolate shiny. If you want to know how to make this sauce, I use it for all kinds of things in fake baking. Check out the video up here and it'll show you how to make 3 different types of sauces that are used all over fake baking. I'm using the caulking because it'll help to fill in some of the holes and gaps from the styrofoam rather than straightforward paint. And the color I'm using in here is burnt umber.
Vaping line just to get inside. Clearance days, craft dreams come alive. Eyes on the glitters and the glue. Need more supplies for what we do. Fake Bake Diary.
My next set of chocolate chunks are going to be teal and hot pink. I put in here caulking and gloss Mod Podge. I'll stir these together, split this in half, and for half of it, I'm adding a turquoise.
Shopping spree on clearance day. Oh, can't resist the call. Oh, crafting's worth it all.
For my last color of chocolate chunks, I'm using neon pink.
Need more supplies before we go. Pushing through
The chocolate chunks are almost dry. In the meantime, I laid out 2 large garbage bags. I went into my garage and took out 2 of these circles that I cut out last summer. We had some old insulation that wasn't being used, so I took it outside and cut a bunch of different shapes that I could use for my projects. They're about 22 inches in diameter, so they're quite large, and I'm going to use that as the size for my cookies. I'm going to use a yellow Sharpie to trace around these styrofoam discs, and that will be my size guide for my cookies.
Need more supplies before we go.
To make my cookie, I'll be using Great Stuff Gaps and Cracks. It's a foam spray gap filler that you can find at any of your hardware stores or Walmart. If you've never used it before, you need to shake it for at least 30 seconds, screw the top on, and when you spray, the can should be upside down. The nozzle goes on. Before I use my spray foam, I'm going to spritz with water. That's going to do two things. Number one, it will make the spray foam peel off very easily. And number two, if you spritz a little bit of water, it will also help the spray foam to cure and to rise faster. First, I'll follow the shape around and then fill in the middle.
Trust and dreams beyond compare. Joy in simple shapes we make. In our world, no hearts will break. Bakes we create.
For this next one, I'm going to use Loctite because that's what I have.
Some don't get it, and that's fine. In our room, we're so divine. Cutting full with steady hand, colors bright as we.
The gaps and cracks is looking very cookie-like right now. I like the look of this one, and we'll see what the Loctite looks like in the end. While it's still wet, I want to take some of my chocolate chunks and put them right in.
Love and laughter intertwine. In this space we find our place. United we will always chase. Some won't see the beauty here, but in our hearts we're crystal clear. Passion's fire lights our way. In our craft from night and day.
I'm leaving the center of this open purposefully. So this would be the top and that would be the bottom. Once your spray foam is drying for about 10 to 15 minutes, you'll see there's a top skin. So make sure you put gloves on and it's all nice and bouncy. That's when you want to paint it. It's much easier to paint now than it is when it's dry. I'm going to use Vintage Victorian from Folk Art. It's a chalk paint and I'm using chalk paint just because it's easier coverage.
We're so divine. Fake bakes we create, lifting spirits high in space. Some don't get it, and that's fine. In our room, we're so divine. Cutting forward with steady hand, colors bright as we come in. Tales of passion we are.
I put my 2 cookies on the floor to dry. While they're drying, I take my 2 pieces of styrofoam and I used Foam Fusion glue from Hotwire Foam Factory. You put the glue on both sides of your styrofoam. I also used these pop sticks. You can use any type of stick that you want, any type of little dowel, but these are cake pop sticks. I glued them onto one end. I'm ready to attach these together. When I originally cut these discs, they're just a rough cut, and I don't need anything smooth right now. I just want them basically the same.
I'm off with a smile so wide, the fake baked pride I can't hide. Made me, and you know that's it.
This is going to be the middle of my ice cream sandwich. So around it for the ice cream, I'm going to put on Fast and Final Lightweight Spackling from DAP. It's a nice white, so I don't have to color it. And I'll put it on with this spatula.
Walking down the street, eyes on the prize, searching for the treasures in a vintage disguise. Gonna upcycle tonight, turn old into bright. Thrift store finds fake bakes from the mind. Racks of old clothes, books and old clocks, dusted off, add some glitter and locks. Gonna upcycle tonight, turn old into bright. Thrift store finds fake bakes from the mind. On the mind. Paint and glue, just like new.
To go around the edges of the ice cream, I'm going to use these styrofoam balls. Sometimes they're at the dollar store. Sometimes you can buy them on Amazon. You can also buy them at Temu. I'll put a link below for Amazon. And while this is wet, I want to put these on. If you've ever used styrofoam balls, you know they can run away. So I'm going to be as careful as I can when I put them on.
On the mind. On the mind. On the mind. Paint and glue, just like new. Making art with love, rise above. Polaroid frame.
This is looking fantastic. I love it. I'm going to let this dry overnight tonight, as well as my cookies. That will allow all the paint to dry. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to do any touch-ups and we'll come back and finish the rest. Both of the cookies are now dry and most of the touch-ups are done. This one here was the Loctite. It looks a little bit more like squiggly worms. This one here is the gaps and cracks. I like this one here better for a cookie. So I'm going to use the Loctite one for the bottom of my sandwich. So I'll flip that over. The Loctite one is actually nice and flat on the back. I'm going to flip this over.
Wake up in the morning light, got a dog.
Now here's the ice cream center to the ice cream sandwich. This has dried overnight. That doesn't mean that all of the DAP Fast and Final is dry, because it'll take a few days for that to dry all the way through, but I can definitely handle it. To keep the balls on while I'm handling it, I used Mod Podge Ultra. I like to use the Ultra when I can't go outside and spray, or if I really want to aim my spray, I like to use this one rather than an aerosol. It's much easier to use inside the house. Now we're going to put it all together.
Feathers for a funky.
I'll be putting the cookie, a layer of cotton candy, ice cream, layer of cotton candy, and a cookie on top. Here's some beautiful blue wool roving. I'll put a link down below where you can get some in a whole bunch of different colors. I'm going to use this blue with it, and this will make my cotton candy. All I'm going to do is take a piece off and start separating. The more you separate, the fluffier it gets.
Needing more, right there in the dollar store. No dollar store. No limits to what we'll make. Imagine.
I put on 2 layers all the way around. Once it's put together, I can fluff it up as much as I want. Right now, my goal is to make sure I can cover this bottom before I glue this on. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to glue my ice cream onto the cookie. To do that, I'm going to use skewers. Poke them down through the middle, make a hole, pull it up. Now I have a hole. I'm going to put on my Foam Fusion glue on the stick and in the hole. That will hold everything together. You can use any type of glue that you want. Just make sure that it won't melt foam. So I just have to make sure that this is centered.
She woke up early, kids still asleep, dreaming of a place where she can just be. Husband calling now, but she needs a break. One single day for her sanity's sake. Lock me in the craft room just for a day. Fake bake diary's gonna take me away. Paper and scissors, glitter and glue.
Anytime I'm using glue, I use silicone brushes. At first I used paint brushes, but I went through paint brushes like crazy, and these wash so easily and so well. It's a good idea to have in your toolkit. I'll put a link to them below.
Crafting self-care, time for her to begin. Lock me in my craft room just for a day. Fake bake diary's gonna take me away. Take me away. Paper and scissors, glitter and glue. Need a little silence. What else can she do? She loves the
You can see here that one of my posts came through. That's not a problem. I will cut that off, put a little bit of touch-up paint, and you won't notice that at all. So now I'm going to take my glue gun and glue the merino wool so that we can see the ice cream in the middle.
Glue and glitter on my hands, crafting shoes and rubber bands, late nights all for this, dreaming big, can't miss. Paint and paper everywhere, final touches here and there, heart in every piece I make, it's my chance that I take. Ready for the show, oh, 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 crafts lined up in a row, oh, 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 got my heart on display, can't wait for the day, friends and family cheer me on.
Right now, I'm coating all of the pink cookie in Jura Clear gloss varnish. While that is wet, I'm sprinkling on top this really nice extra fine snow glitter from Michaels. It's giving it a really nice sparkly glitter on top instead of being very dull. Right now there's piles of glitter, but I'll shake that off, use that glitter again to do the other side over here. Now for the chocolate, I'm coating with Duraclear, but I want to keep it more of a matte. So I'm using the Duraclear Ultra Matte, and they won't have glitter. The pink cookie is now all glittered on the top and on the bottom. The final thing I'd like to do is to decorate the top. I left the center portion of the top of my cookie open for a reason. I wanted to put on these really cute gummy bears that I made a while back. I made these gummy bears by taking a bear styrofoam shape, coating it with Mod Podge, putting a coat of fine glitter on it, putting another coat of gloss Mod Podge, a second coat of glitter, and on top of them, I used either triple thick or resin. This one here I used resin, and this one is triple thick. Here's the triple thick. It's by Deco Art, and I use this on anything I want to make look like it has a thick candy gloss sheen to it. Resin is ideal. I just find it's a bit easier than resin. I usually put on 3 to 4 coats depending on how thick I want that candy gloss to be. So I plan to place these in a circle around the top. To attach them to the cookie, I'll be taking a skewer, and this time original Gorilla Glue. Make sure when you poke it in that you have placed Gorilla Glue on both ends of your skewers. I'll set all of these up the way I want them before I put glue on the bottom half of the skewer.
She wakes up in the morning, glitter on her hands, crafts her way to glory, stickers, rubber bands. She talks about her projects to everyone she meets. Paper, glue, and cutouts fill her heart with beats. She's the crafting queen, everything handmade, in a world unseen, where dreams never fade. Sewing in the sunlight, knitting through the...
When I push these in, I push them in at an angle so that their tails would touch each other.
paints and brushes ready, she creates her world with a mind so...
I'm happy with that. So now I'll glue in the bottom. Now I'm taking my DAP Fast and Final. I put it into a very large icing bag with a large tip, and I'll use this as icing around the bears.
Crafting with a twist, fake bake diaries, where dreams come alive like fairy tale stories, glittering gumdrops, that's our secret prize, flat secret prize, fluffy cotton candy that'll mesmerize, giant donuts.
I would like their heads to stick together so that they all stay put. To do that, I'm going to use Gorilla Glue, and then I'll hold them together until they dry.
Grab your paintbrush, let your creativity shine in our candy land. It's whimsical and divine.
Now, if you have big gaps like I did underneath the bears or in between, you don't have to fill it with DAP. You can take old clay, you can take foam bits and shove them all in, and you can save yourself a lot of DAP.
Come join us, let your imagination run.
While my icing is wet, I'll take these large polymer clay sprinkles that I made and put them around in the icing.
In the craft room, lights so bright, glitter.
All of these I've already made myself, and I thought it would be so cute if each bear was holding a candy or an ice cream.
Them with a scream. Frosting falls right off the cake. Spills and smudges I can't take. Wobbly towers start to lean.
Now going back to my caulking Mod Podge to put a little bit of chocolate syrup on.
Oh, the fake bloopers, laugh them all away. Even when it topples, we'll laugh another day. Oh, the fake bloopers, keep the fun in place.
This is dried. I'll take my Duraclear gloss varnish and go over top of all the pink cookie again to seal in that glitter. And I will also seal in the DAP Fast and Final as well as the chocolate sauce that I put on. The DAP Fast and Final is very thick in here, so I won't be glossing over this for a couple of weeks. It looks absolutely adorable.
Sugar rush sweetness, oh, it makes you feel